here's what Looper's about. In 2072, time travel has been invented, but it's been outlawed. The mob has basically found a way to utilize time travel as a means of cleanly disposing of bodies by sending them back to 2042, where a looper, which is basically a guy that sits at this one particular spot and waits to kill and dispose of whoever the mob sends back. And when I first heard of this plot, I'm like, well, this is stupid. Why would you have to send them all the way back? But I guess in the future, it's very, very hard to dispose of a body cleanly because there's tracking and everything else. People are encoded. So they send them back in the future, back to the past, so they can get rid of them. Okay. When a looper comes face to face with his older self, this means the mob is closing the loop. And basically what they'll do is they'll give Looper 30 years worth of gold in exchange for him killing himself. And he knows he has 30 years to live. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Kind of? Gives me a headache. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays Joe. He's a looper in 2042. Joe comes face to face with his older self, played by Bruce Willis. But he misses his chance to close his loop, and the entire mob is now his enemy. So everything after this would be a huge spoiler, so we're not going to spoil the movie. But Joe does run into himself quite a bit as he tries to piece together why his elder self isn't ready to die, as well as he runs into Emily Blunt, who plays a troubled woman who crosses both the Joe's paths. Honestly, story first, what did you think of the story? I mean, I explained kind of what it's about. Scott and I both saw this. So,
well, the story is what really intrigued me about it. I love time travel concepts anyway, even though they're kind of broken as far as paradoxes go and that kind of thing. But the concept is the reason I wanted to go see it. I was really into it, and I was pleasantly surprised that it didn't go the exact route that we were meant to think it was going in the trailer. It really took a completely different direction, and I mean that in a good way. What about you? Did you feel the same way? Or?
I'll be honest, and I told you this, I've told everybody this. It's honestly one of the most interesting and original films I've seen in years. Mm-hmm. And Scott asked me if I felt it was more original than Inception, which I do, because I think Inception brought out a lot of stuff from Matrix. I thought this was, or from other sci-fi films, I didn't think it was as original as everybody else thought. Great movie. Mm-hmm. I just didn't think all the pieces were as original as people thought they were. I thought this was extremely original. I loved the fact that it's one of the few movies the trailer did not tell me much about the movie at all. Mm-hmm. You get the basic concept, but there is so much more. The second half of this movie isn't even in the trailer.
Right.
You honestly don't know. There's some that you'll probably figure out midway, but a lot of it I didn't see that. All right.
Yeah. Kind of like we did with Cabin in the Woods. Like when they shot like the first 5 minutes of that movie.
You only got some aspect of it, but you don't get the whole gist of it.
Right.
This is a very original story. And the thing I like most about it is I think we've given enough of the story away, but I'll tell you, it's not one of those things where you want to go back just so you can see the little things that led to the ending. It's more that it's an original story that just did a great job of hiding the better secrets. And now that I've seen the whole thing, I kind of want to go back and see it all over. Mm-hmm. Not to pick up pieces I missed, but just because I enjoyed it all the way through, if that makes sense. What did you think of the acting?
I enjoyed... Well, Bruce Willis is kind of still Bruce Willis. I mean, he's kind of been playing the same role for quite a while. I've always been a big fan of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he actually brought it with this role. He really, not only because of the makeup and that kind of thing, looking like Bruce Willis, but he really acted like a young Bruce Willis. The mannerisms,
yeah, he got the tics down, and
the facial tics. I was really impressed with him. He's really come a long way from Third Rock from the Sun.
The makeup was really distracting. At times it was kind of, okay, we get it, dude. Seriously, please stop with the makeup.
Yeah.
But you're right. He had so many, and as somebody that grew up with Bruce Willis, I love Moonlighting. I love Die Hard. I love Bruce Willis until he stopped being an actor and just started being Bruce Willis. Mm-hmm. So I'm extremely familiar with all his mannerisms and tics, and it was kind of, at first I thought it was going to be distracting to see him mimic him, but he doesn't do it in your face, so to speak. I mean, he does the very subtle ones. And he does it really well. He does a really strong impression as well as a performance. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that he's trying to do an impression of Bruce Willis. He's just trying to be Bruce Willis as a younger man.
Right.
And I thought he did a really good job.
I think I was worried about being distracted by the face prosthetics as well. But I felt that if I didn't know what Joseph Gordon-Levitt looked like already, and it wouldn't have been an issue. I mean, obviously he's a pretty famous actor. We've seen him in a lot of things. But we talked about this before when we said he should just be a character and we should allow it to not look that same. But I was amazed at how much he looked like Bruce Willis. The jawline, the mouth, the eyes. I mean, it was incredible. And I was distracted by it at first, but within the first 10, 15 minutes, I was just sold on the idea, and it became less of a distraction for me.
I'll be honest. My favorite performance in the movie was Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
We're not going to go into, because anything after a certain point becomes spoiler territory. But she did a great job as a strong, full character, and her arc was just. I mean, it's integral to the story, but also just the way that she played her role was phenomenal. And Jeff Daniels,
awesome
as a villain, which was a nice change of pace because you never see him like that. I mean, Dumb and Dumber and Newsroom, he's all over the place, but he's usually the nice guy. And to see him as kind of a sadistic jackass was nice, and he does it well.
He really did.
He should do more villains. He really
I agree.
should.
I'd like to see him more.
Production-wise, it didn't really do much for me. I think some people think this should be one of those big production movies where the special effects are phenomenal and the design is amazing. It's really kind of by the book. There's nothing that really stood out like, ooh, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, this isn't just like a cheap sci-fi action flick kind of thing. There's a lot more going on with it, and I think that the tone that the production brought to it really added to that. I mean, whenever we talk about in the future, we always think, flying cars and all these weird like Coruscant style things, but it just looks like in the near future, not like in the 2300. You see a couple flying vehicles, that kind of thing, but it looks just a little bit further ahead, and I think that spoke to it, because there wasn't as much distraction of all the bells and whistles of a super futuristic environment.
Califragilistic expialidocious. It's just, it was by the numbers. I wasn't impressed with that at all. I thought the direction was really good because he kept it focused on the characters. It's very much a character story. It is not a sci-fi, look at the bells and whistles, flying cars, and all that. It's, even though time travel is involved, very little futuristic elements. Really, really, sincerely.
And it's really nice that they don't throw it in your face so much about how the time travel kind of thing works.
Yes, and they made it understandable.
Right. You don't, but they do it without bringing out the chalkboard like Doc Brown style and having the lines and this is what happens. Yeah. The director realizes that the audience has seen time travel movies before. They know how it works. They know the in and outs of it. So you don't have to have things spoon fed to you. And when it is fed to you, it's fed to you through the character development itself. And I think that's brilliant in the way they do that.
Honestly, I think Bruce Willis, even at one point, didn't he say, he kind of alluded to that, I could try to explain all this time travel stuff, but it's just going to confuse the hell out of you, so let's just move forward. Which, that was a great answer, because I don't need it again. If you've seen any time travel movie, you get it. Right. It's confusing, it's going to cause a lot of problems. They hit the basics, it's all good. So what did you think overall? What was your verdict?
I thought it was a pleasant surprise, because usually when I go into a movie super hyped, I wind up being disappointed. Rarely do I go into a movie wanting to see it so bad, and it actually exceeds my expectations. I knew I was going to like the movie from the very little that I had read. I tried to stay spoiler-free a little bit, but I was surprised how much of a character movie this was. The characters are very complex and very emotional, and not in a cheap, sappy way. It's very... You really feel the emotions that each of the characters are bringing to the table. The twists were very nice. It had some very original ideas. I can't recommend it enough. If the price of admission were $10, I would give it an $8 out of 10.
Okay, I thought, like I said, one of the most original and surprising films I've seen in a long time. I was involved the entire way through. Most movies do not keep me that interested. I couldn't wait to see it play out, and now that I know how it plays out, I want to see it again. So, and the sad part is I went in thinking I wasn't going to like it, so maybe that helped, because the trailer was kind of bland, and we talked about this in the show. It didn't look as exciting as it ended up being. And I was so sure that I knew exactly what the movie was going to be, and I was completely wrong. The movie was completely different than I thought it was going to be. I give it a 9 out of 10. It's honestly, it was a great time.